In the Mid-Atlantic, Virginia and West Virginia are located within a changeable area of both physical and human geographies, being between the northern and southern states. How are both similar and different? Let's compare both in the latest To Comparison Series episode. Virginia and West Virginia are two states with unique and complicated histories. Virginia was one of the 13 original American colonies. The state's story begins in 1607 when English settlers established Jamestown on the banks of the James River. This settlement marked the first permanent English colony in the Americas, laying the foundation for the growth of the British Empire in the New World. The state was also a focal point during the American Revolution. Prominent Virginians like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Patrick Henry took leading roles in the fight for independence. Jefferson's drafting of the Declaration of Independence in 1776 was a significant event, asserting the colony's intent to separate from British rule. Virginia was central to the American Civil War, with Richmond becoming the capital of the Confederacy. The state was the site of numerous critical battles and suffered significant devastation during the war. The conflict ended in 1865 with the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, marking a pivotal moment in American history. In the 20th century, Virginia played a significant role in both world wars and the civil rights movement. The state's opposition to desegregation, particularly the closing of public schools rather than integrating them, highlighted deep-rooted racial issues. However, Virginia has since made strides in addressing these issues, reflecting broader social and political changes in the country. Today, Virginia is known for its diverse economy, ranging from agriculture in the Shenandoah Valley to federal agencies in Northern Virginia. Originally part of Virginia, West Virginia's unique identity and path toward statehood were forged into the chaos in the American Civil War. The rugged mountainous terrain of the region set it apart from the more agriculturally focused areas of eastern Virginia. The economy in western regions was more diversified, less reliant on slavery, and had smaller plantation systems compared to the eastern part of Virginia. These differences laid the groundwork for political and social divergence that would intensify with the onset of the Civil War. West Virginia's path to statehood was unique in American history. In 1861, as Virginia voted to secede from the Union, delegates from the northwestern counties of Virginia convened in a series of meetings, ultimately leading to the formation of a separate, loyalist government of Virginia based in Wheeling. These events led to the creation of West Virginia as a separate state on June 20th, 1863, when it was admitted to the Union as a 35th state under the condition that it would gradually abolish slavery. While it did achieve becoming a separate state, there were some difficulties. Throughout the 20th century, West Virginia's economy continued to struggle with the decline of the coal industry and the challenges of economic diversification. The state has often grappled with issues of poverty, limited job opportunities, and population decline as younger residents moved away in search of better prospects. In recent decades, West Virginia has made efforts to address these economic challenges through initiatives aimed at diversifying its economy, including investments in technology, tourism, and education. In today's State Comparison Series episode, we're going to focus on both the physical and human geographies of Virginia and West Virginia. In terms of physical geography, we will review three main factors: geomorphology, meteorology, and ecology, while with human geography, we will review four main factors: demography, urbanization, economy, and geopolitics. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home, if you enjoy learning about geography and earth science. Let's get started. Geomorphologically, both Virginia and West Virginia have many similarities, but some notable differences. Virginia is a coastal state, which also has a large highland inland area. On the coast, the state is mostly flat, with barrier islands and sandspits. One notable coastal peninsula is the Delmarva Peninsula, which traverses 3 states: Delaware in the north, Maryland, and Virginia at the southern end. Southward, other barrier islands are located there, with the popular beach community of Virginia Beach located within this area. More inland, Virginia is still relatively low-lying in areas such as Richmond and in the suburbs outside of Washington, D.C. Further westward, the state begins to become more elevated at the foothills of the Appalachians. Mount Rogers, within the Blue Ridge Mountains, and in the southwestern part of the state bordering North Carolina, is the highest peak at an elevation of 5,730 feet. Being landlocked, West Virginia has a higher average elevation than Virginia. Most of the state is associated with a mixture of mountains, rolling hills, and valleys. The Appalachian Mountains go directly through the state, which makes much of the terrain rugged and rocky. Although this is the case, areas within the eastern part of the state, including Harper's Ferry, are located on the banks of the Potomac River, which is where the lowest elevations are found. And even though West Virginia has a higher average elevation than Virginia, the highest peak is lower, Spruce Knob, at an elevation of 4,863 feet. The meteorology of Virginia and West Virginia are correlated to their geomorphology, and that elevation does play a significant role. In coastal areas of Virginia, the climate is humid subtropical, with long hot and humid summers and cool to mild short winters. The immediate coastal area features the warmest zones within the state, but the location makes it particularly vulnerable to hurricanes, especially between the months of August and October. The lower inland areas of Virginia are still classified as humid subtropical, but in the winter months, these areas are colder and may experience wintry conditions such as snowstorms and ice storms. Near the Appalachians, the climatic zone is within the border between humid subtropical and humid continental variations, with still hot and humid summers, but colder and snowier winters. For example, Blacksburg, a community at an elevation of 2,000 feet, sees around 25 inches of snow a year. West Virginia, being inland and having a higher average elevation, sees a mixture of humid subtropical and continental conditions, with elevation being a crucial factor. For example, Charleston, the largest city and capital of the state, is at a fairly low elevation of 530 feet and has a humid subtropical climate, while areas in the highest reaches of the Appalachians have humid continental climates. The highest elevations can get copious amounts of snow, with wintertime nor'easters happening anytime between November and April. Again, the ecology of both Virginia and West Virginia are heavily influenced by their geomorphologies. Virginia has numerous ecosystems thanks to its changeable physical geography. On the coast, many coastal ecosystems are supported on the Atlantic Ocean and in estuaries such as the Chesapeake Bay, including blue crabs, oysters, and various waterfowl species. Also unique to Virginia, on Assateague Island, is the Chincoteague pony, a feral horse species that may have been descended from either Spanish horses from a shipwreck in the 16th century or from them being brought to the island by 17th century mainland farmers. Transitioning from flat coastal plains to rolling hills, the Piedmont is characterized by broadleaf deciduous forest, home to numerous bird species, deer, and small mammals. This region also supports a variety of plant species, such as the American beech and various oaks. In the Blue Ridge Mountains, the area supports a cooler climate and a different mix of flora and fauna, including black bears, bobcats, and a variety of hardwood species. The higher elevations also support species that are typically found in more northern climates. Heading to West Virginia, the state's ecology is influenced by its rugged geomorphology. As part of the Appalachian region, West Virginia is almost entirely mountainous, which gives it the nickname the Mountain State. Approximately 78% of the state is covered in forests, predominantly deciduous and coniferous forest, including many species of northern hardwoods. The dense forest and varied topography support a wide range of wildlife. Mammals such as black bears, White-tailed deer and raccoons are common. The state is also home to a variety of birds, including ruffed grouse, the state bird, and numerous species of songbirds and raptors. Because of extensive mining activities, West Virginia faces environmental challenges which have adversely affected ecosystems within the state. But many conservation efforts are focused on preserving habitats, restoring damaged ecosystems, and protecting endangered species. On the human geography, let's start by talking about demography. Both Virginia and West Virginia have considerable differences when it comes to demographical statistics. As of 2024, Virginia has a population of a little over 8.7 million residents, placing it 12th nationwide. The population of the state has grown considerably in the last half century. In terms of racial makeup, Virginia is a majority white state with 58.6% of the population identifying as that. The largest minority groups are blacks at 18.3%, followed by Hispanics and Asians at 10.5% and 7.1% respectively. Ethnically, Virginia was shaped by early settlers mostly from northwestern Europe. Irish and Scot-Irish make up the largest ethnic group at 10.4%, followed by Germans at 10.3%, English at 9.8%, and people who identify as American at 9.4%. West Virginia has a total population of 1.77 million, a decrease of 1.3% from 2020, and a 4.5% decrease from 2010. This is likely due to a combination of socioeconomic factors, including a decline in mining industries, and younger individuals leaving to find jobs in other states more suited towards their desires. Racially, West Virginia has one of the highest white populations in the nation, at 89.1%, just behind Maine. Blacks make up 3.6% of the population, while Hispanics, Asians, and Native Americans make up 1.9%, 1.2%, and 2% respectively. Ethnically, Germans make up the highest percentage at nearly 19%, with Irish, American, English, and Italians with sizable percentages. Urbanization patterns within Virginia and West Virginia are differentiated in many ways. Overall, Virginia has some of the regular urban traits, in that coastal Virginia Beach is the state's largest city with nearly 460,000 residents, but only 60 years ago it had 8,000. Just southwest of Virginia Beach is Chesapeake, the second largest city with nearly 250,000 residents. Even though it's second, it's more of a large suburb rather than a city with a distinct downtown. But north of Chesapeake is Norfolk, a more conventional city ranked third in population with 238,000 residents. The capital city, Richmond, is ranked fourth in population with a little over 229,000 residents. In the northeastern part of the state, much of that part of Virginia are important suburbs of Washington, D.C., including the state's sixth largest city of Alexandria and Arlington County. Arlington County is home to the Pentagon, the headquarters for the U.S. Department of Defense. Virginia has a large transportation network of highways, train lines, and airports. Areas closest to Washington, D.C. have a very well-developed intricate infrastructural network, including major highways such as I-95, I-495, also known as the Capital Beltway, I-395, and I-66. Other highways that go through the state include I-81, running through the foothills of the Appalachians, I-64, I-77, and I-85. With mass transit, Amtrak has 3 rail lines traversing through the state and 2 sublines connecting Norfolk and Newport News. The Washington Metro system has lines going to Arlington and Alexandria. In terms of air travel, Virginia is home to both the Washington, D.C.'s airports, including Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport in Arlington, and Dulles International Airport, 20 miles west of Washington, in Dulles. Being a state with a low population, West Virginia has smaller cities. Charleston, the largest city and state capital, has a population of nearly 49,000 residents, making it the second smallest largest city in a U.S. state after Burlington, Vermont. Second is Huntington, with around 47,000 residents, located in the western part of the state on the Ohio border, and third is Morgantown, with 30,000 residents, located near Pennsylvania. Many of West Virginia's communities have historical districts with older homes and buildings, giving the communities aesthetically unique attributes. West Virginia has several interstates, U.S. highways, and state highways that traverse the state, including I-64, I-79, I-77, and I-68. The state does have one international airport, West Virginia Yeager International Airport, serving the Charleston area, and Dulles International Airport in Virginia is only around a half hour to an hour east of some parts of West Virginia. The economies of Virginia and West Virginia are shaped by their location and histories. Virginia has a state GDP of around $713 billion and a per capita income of around $82,000 a year, in the top tier nationwide. The state's economy is divided between regions in that more manufacturing and service sector jobs are within cities, while primary sector jobs are in rural areas. Virginia's proximity to Washington, D.C. means that the federal government is a significant economic driver. It's home to the Pentagon, numerous federal agencies, and several military bases, which contribute to job creation and economic stability. Virginia's manufacturing sector includes shipbuilding in Newport News, transportation equipment, and food processing. The state's ports also play a crucial role in its economy, facilitating both imports and exports. Traditionally, agriculture has been a staple of Virginia's economy. The state is known for its tobacco, soybeans, peanuts, and apples. Virginia also has a growing wine industry with numerous vineyards and wineries contributing to the local and state economy. Virginia hosts a number of prestigious universities and colleges, such as the University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, and the College of William & Mary, which are important employers to the state. These institutions also drive innovation and attract research investments. The health services sector is also significant, with numerous hospitals and medical research facilities. Companies headquartered in Virginia include General Dynamics, a defense corporation offering products and services in business aviation, combat vehicles, and munitions, Northrop Grumman, one of the world's largest weapons manufacturers and military technology providers, Dollar Tree, a major discount variety store chain that operates both Dollar Tree and Family Dollar stores, and Hilton Worldwide, one of the largest hospitality companies in the world. West Virginia has a state GDP of $80 billion and a per capita income of around $47,000 a year, among the lowest nationwide. As mentioned before, West Virginia has suffered from job loss due to the outsourcing of manufacturing and closure of mines. However, in recent years, the state has made some advances. Even though mining activities have decreased, the state is still one of the largest coal producers in the United States. And recently, West Virginia has started tapping into its natural gas reserves, especially with the development of the Marcellus Shale. The state's manufacturing sector includes chemicals, biotech, automotive, aerospace, and steel. Chemical production is particularly significant along the Kanawha River, where several major chemical plants operate. West Virginia's rugged terrain limits large-scale agriculture, but the sector includes livestock, dairy products, poultry, and apples. The state has also seen growth in local food production and agritourism. The service sector, including healthcare, retail, and education, provides employment for a significant portion of the workforce. Healthcare has grown in importance, partly due to the aging population. Companies headquartered in West Virginia include United Bankshares, a regional bank holding company based in Charleston, MTR Gaming Group, a company that operates racetracks and gaming facilities in several states, American Public Education, an online learning provider offering post-secondary education through American Public University System and Hondros College of Nursing, and City Holding Group, a provider of banking services across West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. Geopolitically, both Virginia and West Virginia have shared similarities historically, but have become different. Virginia was one of the original 13 colonies and the 10th state to join the Union on June 25, 1788. Virginia's rich political heritage and its early central role in American colonial history contributed to its significant place in U.S. presidential history, and the state holds the distinction of being the state with the most U.S. presidents born there, with 8. In the very first elections in the late 18th century, Virginia gave its electoral votes to Virginia-born George Washington, the only candidate in the 1788-89 election and 1792 election, and to Virginia-born losing candidate Thomas Jefferson in 1796. Then, from 1800 all the way to the 1824 election, the state voted exclusively for Democratic Republican candidates, including Virginia-born candidates Thomas Jefferson, who won in 1800 and 1804, winner James Madison in 1808 and 1812, and winner James Monroe in 1816 and 1820. But starting in 1828, Virginia started to vote mostly for Democratic candidates, starting with Andrew Jackson and including Martin Van Buren, James Polk, and Franklin Pierce. The reason for this was that the Democratic Party at the time was strongly aligned with the interests of the southern states, including the party's approval of slavery at the time. In the 1860 election, 1 year before the American Civil War, Virginia did give their electoral votes to third-party candidate John Bell, a member of the anti-secessionist Constitutional Union Party, but he only beat pro-slavery Southern Democratic candidate John Breckinridge by 0.1%. Less than a year later, on May 7, 1861, Virginia was admitted to the Confederacy, and Robert E. Lee from Virginia represented the South as the most prominent Confederate general. At the same time, residents of Western and Northern Virginia counties set up a separate government under Francis Pierpont, a politician and lawyer, and on June 20, 1863, West Virginia was admitted into the Union. In the 1864 election, Virginia didn't vote since they were still part of the Confederacy, and in 1868, the state still wasn't restored into the Union, so it wasn't eligible to vote in that election. In 1872, Virginia was eligible to vote again and elected winning Republican candidate and Union General Ulysses S. Grant. But in every presidential election up until 1948, except for 1928, the state gave its electoral votes to Democratic candidates. From the 1950s to the 2000s, Virginia voted more for Republican candidates until 2008, when the state gave its electoral votes to winning Democratic candidate Barack Obama. Since that election, Virginia has voted only for Democrats for presidential elections. In the U.S. Senate, Virginia has 2 Democratic senators, Mark Warner and former 2016 vice presidential nominee Tim Kaine. And in the House of Representatives, the state has 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans. On the state level, Virginia elected Republican candidate Glenn Youngkin in the 2021 governor's race, possibly signaling a potential shift back to electing Republicans on the federal level. West Virginia's first presidential election was in 1864, when the state gave its electoral votes to winning Republican candidate Abraham Lincoln. In the next 2 elections, the state voted for winning Republican candidate Ulysses S. Grant, but from 1876 to the 1896 election, the state voted for Democratic candidates. Throughout the 20th century, West Virginia went back and forth between Democratic and Republican candidates. Then in 2000, the state gave its electoral votes to Republican-winning candidate George W. Bush, and since then, it has voted exclusively for Republican presidential candidates. Even though West Virginia has become more of a red state, it still has and has had notable Democratic politicians. Robert Byrd, West Virginia's U.S. Senator from 1959 to his death in 2010, was a Democrat who had socially conservative ideologies and was seen as a controversial figure for his earlier stances on supporting segregation. Today, West Virginia has 1 Democratic and 1 Republican U.S. Senator, Democrat Joe Manchin, who is considered a conservative Democrat, and Republican Shelley Moore Capito, who is seen as somewhat of a moderate Republican. In the House of Representatives, the state has 2 Republican members. On the state level, West Virginia's governor is Republican Jim Justice, who was elected governor in 2017 and was a Democrat who switched parties a couple of months into his first term. The colorful and complicated backstories of Virginia and West Virginia make the two states unique. Virginia is now well known for being a quickly growing mid-Atlantic state with a diversified economy, while West Virginia is known for being a scenic and distinctive state in Appalachia. Both states are in close proximity to each other, but have notably different geographies, both physically and socially. If you had to choose to live in either Virginia or West Virginia, which one would you pick? I'd love to hear your opinion, so please leave your comments in the comment section below. That concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you like my others, so please subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home. Until next time!